What's up, people? I am back for another video. We are doing the last of the Insidious films. Like I mentioned, I know there's two other, like basically one's a prequel, and then I think they're just I'll just say spin-offs essentially, right? I'll eventually review those at some point, but I figure it makes more sense just to stick with the main continuity. So this one is set 10 years after, um, basically the original or the second film. And Dalton's older now. He's college age. He's getting Josh and his family are getting a divorce after what happened in the second movie. I don't know how I feel about that. It, I just think the whole broken family thing has been done a million times. I I don't know. I get it. They wanted to change it up, and I guess at least within the writing, it somewhat makes sense. Josh, but it's like he was possessed. I almost feel like I don't know. I would have went with them being together personally. I think that was my problem, especially if this was supposed to be the last one. It would have made more sense to have the family together. I also feel like Renee's role, because I've said it, I think she's one of my favorite characters from the last two movies. She's almost say, well, if I had to say criticism, just thinking about it now, that's one. What was her role in this movie? She was just kind of there. So there was no reason to divorce them if just to have the scene in the end, which don't get me wrong, was well done, but it's just to set up. Oh, well, we may get back together. So it's like, why break them up if you're just gonna do that? And I think she was pointless. Dalton was all right, but my problem is how he was written. They did the whole I get it. His relationship with his father's kind of strained, but I think they should have leaned into it was you try to kill me, but they didn't even lean into that. It was I don't know. I had a problem with certain things. It is definitely the weakest of the three. I still think it's a good movie. I think the scares are well done. They maintain that. They didn't go too jump scary. Another negative that Dalton's, I guess they don't even really elaborate if she's like his girlfriend or bunkmate. Chris, the girl, she was pointless. I think I would have written her out of the film entirely. I get it. They needed Dalton to have a friend. I think if they were gonna do that, they should have just went all out and have her be his girlfriend or something. If you're gonna have her in the movies, I just felt like she was pointless. I get it. She was supposed to be like almost our POV. Like when Josh is in the further, it's like she's supposed to be our basically POV is still in the real world, but I have a problem with them being separated. I didn't need that. I get it. Josh was in college, but I would have tweaked the ending and have Josh go to the house. That would have been the only change I would have did. But overall, I still think there were some good scares. I like Elise wasn't in the movie, but they made use of her character. There's a scene where Josh um is watching like a video of her going and talking about they were watching a video of the ghost hunter guys, and then about her talking about astral projection, which adds to the scene where he starts painting the door with his blood. That was pretty creepy. And then there was this. I did like that when Josh and Dalton were kind of having parallel, they're both being haunted by by Josh's father, who we find out, initially it's believed he ran out on the family, but no, he killed himself. Or it's implied basically that the demon made him kill himself. So it's thought that stuff was well done. I just think they could have leaned more into the family if this was gonna be the last one, because it seemed like that's what they were going for. They finally close. The red doors closed, so it's like it seems like this is supposed to be it. And I would have just rather have just leaned into the family, not really introduce new characters, because that Chris character was pointless. She wasn't terrible, and I get what they were trying to do. Like, I like the scene when Josh was astral projecting, because they sneak back because they went to like a frat party, and Josh um basically saw like a demon take over a kid, and he wants to go back and see like what the force was. So he goes back and and the demon ends up attacking her. I get it. They were trying to have her be like the POV in a sense in the real world, and it's like I would have just written that out. I didn't need that in the movie. Um, I wanted more of the demon because we saw like this is gonna be the thumbnail, but the demon just that was a good shot, but I felt like I needed more of the demon. That scene though with Josh when he's at the hospital, he's in like because he I think it's like a cancer thing, and you see the demon literally climb in. That was creepy. There are some like they didn't go too like that was actually one of the things I was worried about was like oh they're gonna go too jump scary and they didn't. They actually maintained that aspect. So that's why I definitely still say it's a good movie. I just think there's a few things I would have changed, but overall I'd give it like a 7.5. The more I think about it, just because of a couple little issues I have, but overall it's still pretty good. And if you're looking at like in the Insidious movies as a trilogy, unless they decide to do another one with these characters, then yeah, I look at it as a trilogy right now, and yeah, it works. It does work as a conclusion. They finally beat the demon. The door is closed. So, and older Dalton was fine. I would have not did the whole angsty teen thing. I just think that's been done a million times. But I get it. It works with him because of what happened to him as a kid. So I at least can kind of give it a pass. So tomorrow I'm gonna be doing the first X-Men movie, which I cannot wait to watch again. The first X-Men movie is just such a classic. Like I know Blade was like seen as the first, but I've always said Blade was more marketed as a Wesley Snipes movie. At least the first one. They didn't really lean into him being a comic character. Whereas X-Men, this was the one like everyone knows the X-Men are comic characters. So I can't wait to watch that one again. That first X-Men was so good. So I'll be talking about that one tomorrow. So I'm gonna be watching Expendables 2 tomorrow. Initially I didn't know when I was gonna see it, but since I'm off tomorrow, I can go see it. So I'll go see it tomorrow. I probably will still review it Sunday. Actually, yeah, no, I'll probably still review it Sunday because I may, if especially if I really like it, go see it again just to get a second thought. So I probably will for right now. We're still reviewing on Sunday. I'll see how I feel about it. If I feel very strongly it's good, or I don't want to throw this out there, but I'll just throw it out there. If it's some reason it sucks, I might go in on it. So it depends on either. Or if I have a really strong feeling either way, I might just review it on Saturday. I'm gonna still do X-Men on Friday, and then, but I might mention what my thoughts really quick, and then it depends on how I feel. So if I feel really strongly, I'll just do it Saturday, and then maybe I'll just roast Spy Kids on Sunday. So we'll see. But let's get into Insidious: The Red Door. I would if I were to do a list of horror movies, it'd be on there. Best horror movies of the year. It's not bad. I just think more of some of the character choices I didn't really like some of them, but so the movie is 10 years later. Dalton's college age. He has kind of a strained relationship with his father after because him and Josh and Renee end up getting divorced, which I don't think I would have done. I think the whole broken family thing is just such a tired trope now. I get what they were trying to do, and you can justify it with, and I can see the argument to an extent that, like, oh, after what happened, maybe she just wants to. I get it, you know. So it's not like it's a negative, really, but it's just for me personally. It's just, I think it's just kind of a burnt out trope that's just been overdone now. So, but I do like. I also feel like she should have had more of a role in the movie. That's the other reason I didn't really like them being divorced. Because if we're gonna be honest, it's more about Josh and Dalton. Like Dalton, they cut to it's more of a Dalton movie. If we're gonna be real, but yeah, then if they do cut back, it's mainly to Josh. Like there's some chunks of the movie where Renee's not even in it. So I get it, because I do like Patrick Wilson, and they probably were like, she's kind of had the focus to an extent. Like she's the one who, was seeing like all the entities and stuff. So I understand that they were like, let's try to change it up. But I would have made it more of a family film, especially if at least this seems like this is gonna be it. Maybe they'll do more spin-offs, but in terms of with these characters, it seems like this is gonna be it. So it's like I would have done more with them together, but maybe who knows? Maybe they are for some reason they will do a fourth movie. I know technically it'd be the sixth movie, but for me this is three. So if they were to do another one of these characters, it would technically be the fourth movie. So, but I do like at least I know I don't like really pointing this out. Unfortunately, you kind of have to like where you have a good father. Like he's trying to connect with all. He even takes Dalton to college, and I wouldn't have done angsty Dalton. I would have if you were gonna do it, you could have did it in a way where it didn't feel like okay, this is just like classic teenager trope. But I get it to an extent because of what happened. So, but I do think it's just because that trope for teenagers is so overdone. The angsty, I hate you, Dad, like kind of writing. Um, it 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 doesn't work. So, um, but it's fine. I guess I get what they were going for because Dalton's life has been kind of fucked up. So I gotta get it. Like that could. So and what happened. Also, you gotta remember his dad, even though was possessed. I did like this. This is way later in the movie when Josh visits because it sounded like he didn't fully know what happened because he got possessed, so he probably wasn't told this. That yeah, he almost killed the family. Like I do think I would have had him found that out earlier because I think that would have been an interesting plot for at least for Josh's character to explain. Dude, you nearly killed. And yeah, he was possessed, but even she mentioned the kids saw your face. It was your face. It didn't matter if you're possessed in that sense. So I think that would have fucked with him. Like I think that could have been a good plot line. Another thing, I think this movie could have been longer, and I understand like all of most of the movies have been like hour 40. They haven't gone too long, but I think this one I would have maybe stretched 2 hours. I think there was a bit more plot. That would have been a good plot line. I think have Josh find out earlier in the film that he nearly killed his family because it is believable. Having that when you get possessed, you kind of forget. It's not you. Something's possessing your body, so it's believable that when it's done, you probably don't really remember what happened because it wasn't you. It was so I actually think it's believable. So have it be that he didn't know what happened when he got unpossessed. So I think that would have been a good plot line to explore that. So I just think there could have been a little bit more, but I did like the some of the scenes with him and his son. Unfortunately, there's Dalton kind of snaps at him, and then his father leaves, and he's like, you feel bad for Josh in this scene. It's like he's trying to connect with his son, um, but yeah, then this is where you meet Chris, who I would have just either if you're gonna have her in the movie, have her already just be his girlfriend. Like maybe they dated in between he started dating her maybe a little bit before this movie came out, like in the timeline wise anyway. Um I just think if it's the way they had her in the film, there was no point. Like because it was hard for me to believe like she was like unless you wanted to do something where maybe she was also um okay how it would have did her character is that she also maybe had some kind of haunting, something like that, like something that her and Dalton can kind of get because the way she's written, I'm like, why are you still here? Yeah, there's that scene later where she ends up going back because I think she likes him. So it's like I would have just written that she also has dealt with that, and maybe that's why when Dalton finally tells her that she's not like put off, she's like, "Oh, okay," because I dealt with this too. I think that could have been more interesting if you're gonna have her in the movie. I just felt like the way she was there was just there just so when Dalton's possessed and in the further, oh, we could have her be like the real world POV. That's all. I didn't really see use for a character aside from that. And they didn't even, or if you're gonna do love interest, at least do that. It just they didn't even do it. Like they don't really. It doesn't the way it ends. It doesn't really hint that they get together. They're just kind of just room. They yeah. So he then goes to art class, and I did like this scene. The art teacher was straight up a savage when she just like shut down that one kid's painting. That was hilarious. I'll be honest. And then yeah, he ends up painting the door, like, and he ends up cutting himself, and because the blood can be used to paint the door. I did like that. I did. And then while this was going on, he had Josh in it at the hospital. I love this scene when he's in that machine and the lights all go out, and then you see like this fucking deep because both Josh and Dalton. I do like this parallel kind of where they start both seeing a demon or a figment of that they start seeing Josh's dad. Because up until this point, Josh's dad ran out on him, so that's all we know. Then we find out he was a mental patient and he ended up killing himself. And because Josh finds this out later, but that scene when he basically, I'm assuming that was his dad. That was a creepy scene. And then there was a scene later where Dalton, like a figure in his blanket, kind of comes alive. Even though the effects, I'll admit, didn't really look the best, but it was fine. It's still a well done scare. Like the scares themselves are still well done. I think they maintain those level of scares. So I'm happy about that because I was kind of worried that they were gonna go too. Because who knows? You know how today is somewhat in that sense that I was kind of worried a little bit. Like, oh, are they gonna go too jump scare heavy? I didn't think they did. I think they still not as I'll admit not as strong as those scares from the first two movies, but definitely pretty good. Um, so I think what else? Oh yeah, Josh researches and finds out about his dad, what actually happened. Oh, I should have mentioned Lorraine died in the beginning of the movie. I'm okay with it. I mean, the time between 2 and 3, or 2 in this one, I kind of understand. Like, I'm a little bit like, did they just do it because they couldn't get the actress back? But I'm okay with it plot wise. I mean, the time makes sense between the movies, so it's believable. Um, and it's not like she's not in the movie. She does appear in like flashback scenes, or the couple like in couple flashback moments. So Josh researched, then he goes to Renee, and this is where he finds out about what happened. And I do like this scene. I did like how well done the scene was, but I think I would have did more scenes with the family in general. So while this goes on, Josh goes to a party because Chris convinces him to go. And he ends up going in a room, and this is where he sees a student basically possessed by an entity, and that I'll admit this scene was pretty creepy. And even the scene where I started puking, it was pretty gross. So, but then Josh decides he has to go back, so they go back. He goes to a black room. Actually, no. Before this happens, this is where he watches the videos, which I do like. This is like in this scene, I would have written that that she also has dealt with these problems. I think if you're gonna make use of a character, at least do that. But yeah, then they go back to the frat house, and he goes into the further, and basically sees. I do love these moments in the movie where they do recreate, because they did this in the second one too, where they kind of recreate the moments from well, this one did it the second film, the moment where Josh was almost about to kill his son, and yeah, he tackles his father, and because while this happens, Josh ends up because before this, Josh's other son tells his family that Dalton painted a picture, and you see possessed Josh there. So yeah, Josh goes into the further, And I'll admit, I did like this scene in the initial scene when Dalton goes into the further, and the demon nearly kills Chris, and then she kind of leaves for a little bit, and then yeah, now we're back to this scene. So Josh, it looks like Josh is about to kill Dalton, but actually it's current real Josh, and breaks him out and tells, and they try to get out, and this is where we see the red demon, which I do like the design. I'll admit it's not as strong as like the design from that first film, but I do like it. Um, so Josh manages to make it out. While this is happening, possessed Josh is nearly about to kill Chris. Because Chris comes back and tries to help, and I just think if you're gonna involve anybody, it should have been the family, not this character. Like I think that would have been my only change. I would have had Josh probably just go back to the house. Maybe they should have went back to the original house. I don't know. Maybe they could just real life they couldn't. Maybe they can't get back that actual house or whatever. But maybe they. I just think that would have worked better for the story if this was supposed to be it for these characters. At least the way it's written, it feels like that. So yeah, Josh manages to make both of them basically manage to make it out, and Dalton ends up basically painting over his painting, painting over the door all black. Basically, actually seals the the door the further basically for the time being. I mean, they theoretically could do another one. I'll say I'm not fully against doing another one, but I think that one should be it if they're going to do it. I don't. This isn't like at least with characters like Jason and some of those slashers, there's a character behind it. You can almost justify it being brought back here. The further sealed. I mean, they're gonna have to figure out a way to unseal it. I'm open to one more film, but I feel like this works fine as an ending. To be honest, the further sealed, Josh and Dalton's relationships fixed. It's basically hinted that Josh is gonna start being invited for dinner, not just for picking up the kids. So basically, it's setting them up being back together. So I'm open to this one being it. And then I even like the little scene where he talks to Elise for a second, even though like that was like a figment because she was gone after. And then I like the little moment where Josh and Dalton are looking at a painting. So like at Josh's painting, so at Dalton's painting, sorry. So Dalton and his father's relationship is fixed. So I do like that. So it's still a good movie. I'm okay with this being it. If they really want to end it, maybe do some more spinoffs. I haven't seen the others, so we'll see. Maybe my opinion might change on that. We'll see. I'll eventually watch those, but I figured just do the main ones first. Next Thursday, I am gonna be starting the Conjuring movies. I've also never seen. So this is gonna be fun. I'm actually interested because I really like. I would say as a franchise, Insidious is pretty good. Like I love the first one, but the second one is probably my favorite one of the three. But one is really great, and then this one is decent. It's not the best movie. It has some problems, like I said, but there's little things I change. There's more character things I change, not necessarily the writings. I think the story is still pretty good, and I like the parallel, like when Josh and Dalton are both being, you know, possessed and having to deal with the entity. I do like that shit. I just think I would have, obviously having to have the family together if you're gonna make this the last one. But overall, I really like it. I still think it's it's a solid ending. So I'll stick with my 7.5 out of 10. I think there's more good than bad, but there's a little bit of issues here. So I can't give it an 8, right? So, but yeah. So tomorrow I'm gonna watch Expendables 4. I don't know what time I'm saying it, but I'm gonna watch that. If it's depending on how I'm feeling, I might. No, I'm gonna still do X-Men. I was gonna say, no, I'll still do X-Men tomorrow. Since I've already announced it and stuff, so I'll do X-Men, and I'll probably mention it, because probably when I review X-Men is going to probably be way after I see the movie. So, but yeah, that's my plan for tomorrow. So, aside from that, I'm going to cheers and peace out. Insidious franchise is pretty good, to be honest with you. Like, not a bad entry. I mean, I haven't seen the spinoffs yet, but if we're just talking like the main story. Anyway, guys, I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.